Hello, my name is Leo X Robertson. I'm a Scottish filmmaker. I live in Norway, and right now you're watching as the latest version of our feature film Cancelled Plans is rendering out. And this feels like a big success and something that makes me feel very motivated, so it's very timely that Alex Watson, who I met some time ago in Virginia, has challenged me to talk a little bit about what motivates me. I'm very much a believer in discipline when it comes to some sort of creative field because you have to work for a long time without any recognition, and it's best just to do that work without questioning it too much if this is something you've decided to do. But since we are only human, we will need some motivation here and there, and you're actually perfectly permitted to celebrate every single little win that you have, and that's what I'm going to do right now. This film, once it's ready, I'm going to screen it for the 25 plus people who were involved in making it. 5 years ago, I didn't know any of them. I didn't know how to make a film. We're all going to have a great time watching it, and we're closer as a result of having made it. So we have already won in having made this film before anyone even sees it. Now, I'm rendering this out using DaVinci Resolve, which is software that I didn't even know existed 5 years ago. I didn't know how to use it. And I used to be so intimidated by the interface that I would just open it up and look at it for like a few minutes before I went to work every day. For about 2 weeks, I just looked at it and I thought, I'm going to figure out how you work. And that's where I was at the time. And so this is what I'm talking about, the kind of celebrating the little wins thing, is that eventually I built up the courage to figure out what all these features were, up to the point that I can now edit and color and polish the sound of and render out a feature film of our own making for us to see. I couldn't have done that if I wasn't prepared to accept where I was at the time and celebrate the incremental progress I was making. And arguably that's all we ever do as creative people, and that's all that ever drives us really, is challenging ourselves and then meeting those challenges. And like I say, if we're all going to watch this film and celebrate it being made before anyone's even seen it, we've already won before you start to think about the typical things about filmmaking, which is like fame, fortune, attention, legacy. Everything that you dream of in your wildest fantasies is secondary to how great it is that you did this work anyway, if you know what I mean. I have a small part in this film. I once had a podcast where I would interview other writers. It was mostly just an excuse for me to learn from these other writers, and I highly recommend that if you're trying to get better at writing. After I recorded the first few episodes, I was too afraid to listen back to them because I would have to listen to my own voice. So I had a few drinks before I did it. Then finally, when I was accustomed to that, when it came to filmmaking, I had to look at myself on camera, and I hated that too. I didn't have to drink at the time, but I did have to brace myself, and I think after I filmed myself on camera for the first time, using my phone, learning how to do that, it took me about a week before I could watch it back. And now all these things become second nature, but only because I was prepared to be humble enough to recognize where I was at the time and to meet those little obstacles that I had all along the way. Let's talk a little bit about what happens when that goes wrong, because I've met so many lovely, fantastic, talented, creative people around here. I've been very fortunate enough to have some of them in my films and contribute their talents to our work. But many of them, I think, just become so overwhelmed with self-criticism that they don't let any of their talent out, and they stall, they get stuck, they don't participate for very long periods of time. Not necessarily because life gets in the way, because I know that happens also. They're just so intimidated by it, or they don't like what comes out. And so on the opposite side of these little wins leading towards bigger wins that I'm talking about, there are also these kind of big losses when people get so frustrated at what comes out of them and what they perceive as its lack of quality that they just stop, or they stall for long periods of time. And it's such a loss because you're depriving the world of what makes you great. And that, I think, is what it's all about, is what being creative is all about, is about providing the world with what makes you great. Getting in your head about what you perceive as a lack of quality, allowing that to eat away at the progress that you could otherwise be making, is such an enormous loss. To anyone watching this, I want you to think about what progress you can make today at anything you want. Even if it's like, okay, you're a writer and you don't know what a semicolon is for. I don't know. Look at some uses of it, and you're getting closer to the end goal of writing the next great American novel, right? It's not No progress is too trivial, and all of this adds up to something brilliant. And by brilliant, I mean the fact that in this case we've made a new film that we're all going to get to watch and celebrate the existence of, and that we're very proud of, and that's what it's all about. So stay focused, keep working, and best of luck to you. You're doing better than you know, and thanks for listening.